So I am CEO and founder of Holistic Email Marketing. We're a boutique email marketing consultancy. However, we base our everything that we do on the customer journey. Therefore, we also do, touch on and use and utilize and work with multiple channels because we're looking at the customer and what they're doing and how we can help the customer to achieve their results, right? Their needs. Why are they on your website? Because they have a need. We want to help them to achieve that need, right? So I'm a trainer, a speaker, innovator, question of norms, which you're going to see about today, and a shaker upper, right? So essentially we have got amazing clients that we tend to work with, or that we have the pleasure of working with. And they range from very, very well-known household brands down to little more boutique brands and lots of e-commerce companies as well. So I wanted to tell you about this elephant. This elephant, you can see a big, big elephant, and there's a tiny little wooden stick that it's tied to, okay? Now, this is based on truth, but it's also become a bit of a parable as such. So what this story is all about is that when a baby elephant, right, is taken, is owned, they would put the stick in the ground, the tiny little stick with the rope, tie it to the baby elephant's foot, and the baby elephant's trying to pull away because he's just going, what am I doing here? I don't want to be here, right? He's trying to pull away, but he's not making any progress at all because that stick is strong enough for him and his size. As the elephant grows and grows and grows, it stops questioning, it stops trying, it stops pulling, right? And what happens is that you end up with a full-grown sized elephant being tied to this tiny little stick that he could have pulled up in a millisecond, but it doesn't, because it's no longer questioning, it's no longer, looking around and saying, what if? Okay, so that's not what we want to be. In the UK, so if anyone is a bit confused by my accent, I'm originally from Australia, okay? So I've got a bit of a hybrid accent, so you could have been going, what? Anyhow, one of the things that I found when I came here to the UK, which was 16 years ago, I found that there was this weird thing called the queue, right? And more than that, you had to respect the queue. Now, I like to find out, because it kind of frustrated me, especially when I'm used to doing zigzag, on the roads, when we're sort of merging, and the English I found, or the Brits, like to everyone queue in the one lane, and anyone that's going in that other lane, which is totally illegal, by the way, right, is regarded as a queue jumper. So I went, I've got to get to the bottom of this. Why? What is the cause of this? Why is everyone just doing it? Turns out it's because back in World War II, you had to queue for coupons for so many years, and so many years afterwards as well. And then the queue took, that then became the norm. And no one questioned the norm thereafter. There was an original need for it. There was an original reason for it. But nowadays, there isn't, right? Of course, we still have to queue in an orderly way. I'm not saying don't do that, but not as much as we currently do, okay? So this is, again, what I'm wanting to say is sometimes we start to just accept the norm. We just accept. I can't tell you how many times I've gone in to visit a company, working with them, and I'll say, in our first discovery session, I'll say, okay, so you're doing that. Why are you doing that? We've just always done that. They don't know why they're doing it, but they're just doing it, right? And this happens again and again and again. So we tend to be accepting of norms without necessarily questioning their origins. And this can be true, definitely, of a lot of best practices, and particularly in email marketing, because we're a permission-based channel. We have very strict legislation overseeing us. We tend to hang on to these so-called best practices. However, in reality, most of those best practices are things that are archaic, like the queue, right? There was a need, but there no longer is a need. There often could be a self-serving best practice. Some of them are based on a single report that a vendor produced because it would help his life or their life better. It doesn't help the marketer and it doesn't help the consumer. So again, whenever you see anything packaged up as a best practice, just question it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying ignore it, but always question it and then test it. Don't just blindly accept it. Now, hands up, who knows this band? No one's that old. Wow. Okay, so it's an old British band. Basically, this is what I was just saying. Lots of norms. This band is called Status Quo. Has anyone heard of Status Quo before? There you go. You've heard them, but you didn't recognize them. So the status quo, we are really all aligned about, wanting to be aligned with the status quo. We don't like to raise our heads above that, sort of little line and everything like this. What I'm wanting you to do today is to start analyzing, start reviewing, start thinking about the things that you currently do that you're not necessarily questioning. And don't just say, oh, but everyone does it. I mean, there are so many examples out there. Do you remember, I'm just trying to think what they're called, when the carousels first came out on websites? Do you remember that? Again, I'm showing my age, aren't I? Okay, so there wasn't always carousels on websites. They used to be a bit more static. And then the carousel came out. And everyone started using it blindly just because, oh, wow, look how, that looks great. That's really, really funky. Later on, the test, the actual analysis and the results came through. And it turned out that with a carousel on a website, if you have that carousel all supporting the same product or the same service, then it worked well. If you had it with multiple products or services, it didn't work so well, okay? But what everyone did was, everyone's doing this, so let's go and do it. We tend to be very trend-oriented. Norms are not best practices, and best practices aren't always real, okay? So specifically about email, and I'm sure this is true of many other channels too, but email does deliver the goods, all right? Email delivers on, I think, for the last 13, 14, 15 years. Every year, eConsultancy comes out with a new survey, right? They call it the Email Marketing Census, and every year, when they go and ask the marketers, how well is email performing against the other channels, it delivers the highest return on investment, okay? So email is known as being the workhorse for digital marketing. It delivers the goods, but the problem is often we are under-budgeted, under-resourced, and underappreciated, and we often just feel like we're on this conveyor belt. And when you're on a conveyor belt, you've seen them, if you've not actually used one, which I haven't, but I've seen them on movies, right? And they're kind of coming through really, really quick, and you kind of have to action it. You don't have time to pause and think and analyze and review and everything. You're just doing it as quickly as you can, as efficiently as you can, as effectively as you can, so that you can get the results that you need. So this is what email feels like. And that's because of those factors that I was saying, right? And therefore, we often feel that we're stuck in a rut. We also live within email marketing, and again, you've got your own ones if you're in different channels, but email, because of the permission base and the legislation, we have lots and lots of fears, all right? We have people, our subscribers can complain about us, right? They can put us in the bad books with the ISPs. So therefore, we are fearful of unsubscribes, which is actually a really healthy metric because it means that they recognize that we are permission-based marketers, we are legitimate marketers, and they've gone the legitimate route to actually, take themselves off the list. So we should actually be thinking, this is a good one, but instead we're fearful of it. We're fearful of the penalties, actual money, right? Of being called a spammer, being blacklisted, sending the wrong email to the wrong person, sending the wrong data, personalization to the wrong person. I can keep on and on and on. There's lots and lots and lots of fears here. So what we do is we take the easy route. And the easy route is what we believe to be the easy route. And that's the best practices, right? So as I said, emails under-resourced, under-budgeted, underappreciated. So what do we do when we're really, really trying to achieve the KPIs that have been set in before us? We look for the silver bullets, right? And often they are disguised as being best practices, but often silver bullets are not what we're actually wanting. We think that we want them. We think that we want this fail-proof solution. We think that we want this formula that we know is going to work every single time. But one, audiences change continually. They change how they're, according to the market, they change according to the channel, and also, as we've seen over the years with email marketers and how they use email, they're perpetually changing. So there are no silver bullets. And in the meantime, if you're looking for a silver bullet, what are you doing? You're shutting down your brain from thinking outside the box to find the true answer, the real answer that's going to help you with your particular challenge or situation. So, because you're so busy looking for that silver bullet that someone else has found, rather than looking into your own data, understanding your own products, your own services, understanding your own customers, all right? That's where the answer is going to be lying. So what I'm well known for saying is let's put marketing back into email marketing. Now I say that because email marketing is a technology-driven channel. And often we look to the tech to actually create our strategy for us, definitely develop our tactics for us, right? So we're leaving this email solution providers who are tech-oriented, that's what they do, to actually perform our strategy for us, to do our marketing for us, which is wrong. We are marketers, therefore we need to do the marketing. We need to be strategists. We need to make sure that we are owning the customer experience and we are actually involved and identified the particular strategies and tactics that are needed for that particular time, that particular audience, that particular life cycle, life stage. We are in charge. So think of it, you're the director. And once you start thinking of yourself as being a director again, across all channels, you are the director of your customer's journey. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to leave it to someone else to come up with the solution? Or are you going to own it and think of the solution for yourself? And that may involve thinking outside the box, being innovative, all the rest of it. So I've just got 3 examples here of how to be innovative in email marketing. Again, I think 2 of these will apply to you if you're not an email marketer. The first and the third. The first one, be a strategist, not a technician. Okay, that's pretty much what I was saying before. Strategy is in your hands. Understanding your audience is in your hands. Your technology provider does not know your audience, right? You might have one, so maybe Google Analytics to a certain degree, but data isn't always data. It's not always true. Sometimes there are things that it's jumping into, and you can make assumptions based on that data. But then if you were to line it with other data or other experiences, it's not actually going to be supporting that at all, right? So understand you are a strategist. So we did the survey and we found out of email marketers. And we found that only 56% of marketers base their strategic planning on business needs instead of new features. Now, to me, that's scary. That really is scary because you're leaving your email marketing program up to features that have been developed by techies, not marketers, right? And just because there's a feature there doesn't mean that it's suitable for you and your business and your needs and your KPIs and your challenges and your objectives, right? Whereas your business needs, oh my goodness, that's what you need to be looking at. And you need to be using that as your guide. That's your goal. and addressing those and working out how you can be doing that. So in this particular case, this is one of our customers, not in the high street. And what they did, we did an audit for them, and we found out that they weren't using email marketing. So a few years ago, we found out that they weren't using email marketing to its fullest, that there were lots of missed opportunities there for them to avail themselves of. So we put together a strategy for them, and they went and implemented it. And this is the result. What they ended up doing is they implemented a bunch of automated programs, right? Life cycle marketing programs that actually are automated, but they're leveraging touch points that the customer has, or in some cases hasn't made, right? So inactive could be they haven't made that touch point, but still is a good touch point. What they ended up finding is after implementing only the first 3 that they implemented, they were generating the equivalent amount of revenue as they were with their weekly BAU emails, to send multiple times a week. Now, this is called working smarter, right? Not harder. The volumes are much lower. So the volumes are nothing like the BAU emails that are sending out there. It's not reaching as many people, but because they're personalized, they're relevant, they're literally leveraging that valuable touch point, and they're helpful in their nature. And consumers love to be helped, right? They look to us to help them. They ended up doing this and achieving this result, which is fantastic. Okay, this is the one where it still is relevant to all of you, okay, even if you're not an email marketer. And I would say in this case, if you are an email marketer, team up with your other teams and buddy up with them with your other channels, because you can help them. And I would say to your other non-email marketing channels, buddy up with the email team because they can help you. Does that make sense? So generally, when you're doing email marketing or tests within email marketing, what happens is that you rely on the tech, and it's got a very basic way of doing A/B split tests for you. And problem is it's so basic, you don't always do a great job, right? And I'm not saying that as a failure of you guys, I'm saying it more as a limitation of the tech that you're using. So again, I'm going to ask you to step out of that. Don't rely on that tech. Be a strategist and a marketer, and actually understand how to perform your own tests. Most tests are performed within email marketing, and let's go back to actually think about why do we want to do testing in email marketing? One, it's a push channel. So because it's a push channel, what are we doing? Are we having to pay for our audience? No. To come to our website? No. We already have that audience sitting there, waiting for us to communicate with them. So let's start using that. So it's very cost effective, it's very timely. Not only that, we can actually segment it as well into those life stages. We can segment it, and we can be testing those particular life stages. So it can get quite granular to an extent, such. But generally speaking, when we're doing A/B testing within email marketing, most marketers that I know, and I mean, we do hundreds of audits a year, and all the audits that we do, they've got one objective, and that's to gain an immediate uplift. That's it. So they're looking at their control or their version A versus version B. I want to get an immediate uplift. There's nothing wrong with that. I want more though. Okay? So, holistic testing objectives, because we're going to do it holistically. We're going to gain an immediate uplift in conversions of an email marketing program, or, so it's an automated one, or a campaign. We can be testing both of those. But we're also going to gain longitudinal insights into the customer. We're going to be using a hypothesis, and we're going to be actually questioning things. You know those challenges, you know those business objectives that you have, you know those hiccups in the customer journey, all of those things. We can be testing within email, because we're going to be testing the actual subscriber. We're going to be testing what it is that they like, what motivates them, what will help them to achieve their goal, which is also, funny enough, our goal, i.e. to get them to buy, download, convert, whatever it is. So we're going to be using it to gain longitudinal insights into your customers as well. And then, because we've been focusing the results not on just little design, sort of tweaks, we're going to be actually rolling out the results to the other channels, because the other channels can benefit more often than not from our learnings, because what we're doing is we're actually asking our existing database, our existing database of customers, our existing database of prospects, right? We can actually ask them questions. So treat every email that you send as being a survey, look at that, and find out what it is that the actual customer or subscriber actually wants. And then you can use those results, the findings, as a starting point for doing further tests within your landing pages, your e-commerce site, your PPC, your social. There's lots of different ways that you can be using this. It'll just give you an extra step up, okay? Now, I wanted to say one more thing about the testing, but it's gone, but it was a really, really good one, so I might come back to it. Here, we've got a hypothesis. Oh, that was it. The hypothesis. I don't want to skim over this too quickly. We're going to go into this in depth, but the hypothesis itself is so important, because if we just say, oh, how about we just do this one versus this one, then often, because that's how we are, we probably put them and they're only that different, right? Can everyone see? Not amazingly different. If we actually put together a hypothesis, and that hypothesis is there to try and help us to solve a business challenge, then we're going to start here. That will be our first one, and then we're going to come up with an alternative for us to be testing against here. So we're more likely to have a statistical significant result simply because we've actually thought about it and taken the time to put down a hypothesis, right? So in this particular one here, a subject line that promotes all the savings that could be had will produce, that's meant to say the word produce, a better open rate than promoting the broad benefits of shopping with the brand, okay? So, and this was over a program, so an email marketing program. It's an automated one, and split streams, 50% of the traffic per stream. And then the conversion was calculated based on the number of emails sent per stream, not on the number of visitors on the landing page, right? So it's taking the entire journey, email journey, into consideration. So we're looking at savings versus benefits. We can see that the open rate, not statistically significant at all. Click-through rate is not statistically significant at all either. It's a 6% uplift, but it's only got a 80%, right? Statistical significance. So we're going to disregard that. Conversion rate, this is where it gets interesting, right? Look at that, conversion rate. Uplift is 98%, and you can be confident as the statistical significance is 99%. Now, how on earth did that happen? I didn't make this up. This is a real test. All right, how did that happen? That's phenomenal. And that's the kind of results that you want to get, and you can get when you're using a hypothesis. But one of the key things that I want to make sure that you understand, though, right? This is based on a subject line. Now, we could actually be carrying this through and actually also testing the subject line, the call to action, the first copy, the first paragraph of copy, the supporting imagery. They could all be benefit-led versus savings-led, okay? So we can do all of that, and that's fine. It just makes it even more robust. But here, they did a subject line. Now, for those, hands up who does do email marketing here. Oh, okay, awesome. So, when you tend to do subject line testing, A/B split testing with subject lines, the majority of people will call upon the open rate as being a success metric. It's becoming a little bit less now that we've got the Apple MPP in place. So we're kind of going, ooh, what are we going to do? But the reality is that the open rate's never been the right metric in the first place, regardless of whether the Apple MVP came through. All that is doing is making people realize that it's not as reliable as it is. So we can see that right here. Okay, open rate is not necessarily the metric that you want to be doing. Unless, of course, you're a publisher and you're actually being rewarded on opens. And yes, that's the one. That's your success metric. But if you want them to download, if you want them to register for an event, if you want them to buy a product or, get in touch, any of those things where they actually want your. So all I was saying then is that, again, we're working smarter. We're thinking outside the box. We're not accepting the norm. The norm in most articles that you read as user rates, there is no evidence for that whatsoever. I mean, just to, I've got time? Yes. Just to actually expand upon this a little bit more, if you are in doubt, go to your email marketing campaigns and go and pull the top 10 campaigns based on open rates. Go and then pull the top 10 campaigns based on clicks. And then go pull the top 10 campaigns based on conversions. And guess what? They're not the same. So what this means is that you could have been optimizing your campaigns for the wrong result, which is a scary thing. And I'm just going to throw this in there at the moment too, because this is a really, really big question that I get asked. So I've been in the industry now for 23 plus years, been consulting for 16 years. And during all of that 23 years, every year, multiple times a year, I am asked the question, should subject lines be short or long? Okay, now I'm going to give you a really, really good little tip here. The question is actually the wrong question to be asking. The right question is, should my subject lines be generic or should they be specific? Now, a generic subject line is innately short. It's generic, okay? A specific one is innately longer. Now, the thing is that when we start talking about a generic one, you'll get increased opens. You will, because what you do is you're appealing to a wider audience because they're reading their need into your subject line. They read whatever they want into it because it's so generic. So you're going to get higher opens, but you're going to get less conversions, clicks and conversions, because what they read into the subject line isn't actually what you're offering. Whereas the more specific you are, you're going to attract a smaller audience, but it's going to be the right audience. It's going to be the ones that's more likely to click and to convert. So this is the first test that I think you should be doing, is doing that, remember? So short versus long. Oh, no. We want it to be generic versus specific, okay? So have a look at that, have a think about that, and see how you can use that also in your own other worlds if you're not doing email marketing. And then the final one, the third one, is be holistic in your approach to email. This is a customer journey, okay? Customer goes and does this, they'll go in and they'll go to the website. We all know what customers do. They will do different things, okay? So it's really, really hard to do journey mapping, but we have to do the best that we can, and we do it for the majority, and we can't necessarily deal with every single instance or unique instance of a journey. But generally speaking, we can actually map the majority through, and we can actually identify what kind of touch points we can use. We can identify what are the best channels to be using for them, and we can make sure that we are giving them a holistic and lovely customer experience. Now, when this comes to email marketing, what I'm really talking about here is that email marketers, as most channel-based marketers, we tend to be very wrapped up in our own individual channel. Those that do multiple channels, you're the lucky ones, because you're already naturally doing holistic marketing, right? But if you are an email marketer, you tend to look mainly at the email. You don't necessarily go and have a look and think, what happens before and what happens afterwards, right? And the what happens afterwards is so crucial to your success. It's so crucial to what happens in in the customer experience, in the customer's world as well. So start taking a look at the whole journey. Okay. Start thinking about looking at the landing page. Now, if you can't modify the landing page to match your email, then what you need to do, because you don't want that disconnect, and I've seen too many of these. You know, you've got a different team that set up the landing page, you've got the email team that set up the email, and they're promoting the same product or something, but there's a huge disconnect because they don't really look anything alike. So what you need to do as an email marketer then, if you have no say over that landing page, you need to take out specific elements just to carry through in your email so that they can see that there is that recognition. So they don't get to that landing page and go, what am I doing here again? Has anyone ever done that before? Go click through on an email and go to a landing page and then you actually don't know why you're there. It happens too often, okay? That's a disconnect. You don't want that. So try and be as holistic as you possibly can. So all in all, this is really a call to arms, right? For you to start thinking outside the box. For you to start questioning the norms that you're doing. For you to start thinking, how can I be doing my A/B split test better? How can I be thinking and acting more holistically? How can I actually become more strategic in my approach? Understanding that you're probably feeling like you're on a conveyor belt, okay? I'm not, unfortunately, I don't have a solution for that, except for, okay, if you're an email marketer, you guys over here, okay? You can, and I've done this successfully, you can put together a business case. You do the holistic email marketing testing approach, okay? Put together a business case because you're going to go and share the results with some of your other teams. They get positive results. Guess what happens? Everyone now starts going, wait on, email is actually really good at testing and it's saving us heaps of money because we're instead of doing 3 or 4 tests on the landing page, costing lots of money because we're driving traffic, we're only going to do 1 or 2 tests, so we're saving money. Okay, start doing that and then put that together and then guess what? You're going to get a new employee. You'll get a new staff member who's going to be focused on doing the tests. And then that's going to help you to actually do your jobs better and relieve a lot of the pressure. So what I'm asking you to do here is that lateral thinking. Lateral thinking involves standing back, looking at the big picture and understanding the concepts. And like I said, I know it's hard when you're on the conveyor belt. It requires you to focus on the parts that have perhaps been overlooked, challenging assumptions, the norms, right, and seeking alternatives. Now, I know it's not an easy ask, but it's well worth it. And particularly if you are career-oriented, this is going to help you a lot, yeah? So ask the right questions, I think is the first place to start. Ask, why are we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? What happens if we do this, right? All questions. You can look into your data, you can look into the history, you can go and interview all the people who have been in the company for a long time asking, why are we doing this? You can do your tests. And then Jimmy Collins said, what works for the person that you're imitating may not work for you. This is referring back to that one where I was talking about carousels. Just because your competitors, and I can't tell you how often I've come across this. And when I ask that question, why are you doing it? I either get the answer of, because we've always done it, or our competitors are doing it. We don't know if your competitors have actually tested it. We don't know that's actually reaping them positive results. So until you've gone in and tested it, you can be inspired. You can get ideas. You can say, wow, that's kind of cool, but make sure you test it. Same as a best practice. always test before implementing. So, ending here. Are you ready to innovate, to question the accepted norms and shake things up? Okay? Because this is now over to you. And like I said, there's lots of data out there that you can be calling upon to help you to make business cases. But the first thing is you have to ask questions and start testing things. And that's it. And we've got some time for some questions. Oh, there's one right there.
As an email marketer over here. So that was really, really informative. Thank you so much. Short subject lines, I guess, are one of the best practices that you, or so-called best practices that you really highlight as an example of something to challenge here. But what's something else that you see a lot of the kind of companies that you work with doing or really trying to do that they see to be a best practice that you're just like, no?
There's lots of them out there. I've actually written a few articles on it. One of them that comes immediately to mind, which is referring to that self-serving best practice one, is, and this is before GDPR came along, and even under GDPR, it still isn't relevant. This particular ESP did did some analysis, and they found out that the majority of their complaints are coming from their customers, so their market, the customers of theirs. Their customers' inactive lists. So what then was recommended was to actually delete your inactive lists. Don't stop sending to them and all the rest of it. Now, this is incredibly helpful for the ESP because they don't have to worry so much about complaints. They've got healthier IP addresses. They can sit back and, enjoy life, right? Because they're not having to work as hard. The reality is, though, there's a DMA study. Every year they do this study, and it's a consumer study. And that consumer study goes and asks all the consumers lots of questions, one of them being, what is the 3 top actions that you take when you receive an email that you like? Now, some years, clicking on the email is not even in the top 3. They will save it for later. They will go to a competitor's site or a marketplace, or they will go to the website via another route, i.e. search SEO or PPC, or just type it in directly. So when we're talking about activity and inactivity, we have to be very careful about that. And if you are going to be going and doing this so-called best practice, right, you have to make sure that you've got all your ducks lined up in a row, right? So you've gone in and you've checked that they actually truly are inactive. They are not visiting the site. They're not logging into the app. They're not buying. They're not cart abandoned browsing. They're not doing anything like that, right? That they are actually, and only then, do you know what you want to do? You want to actually send them a reactivation campaign because you're not going to give up on them yet. Think about, again, if you go and have a look, there's another metric called the value of an email address. If you want the calculation, just ping me. I'm on LinkedIn. The value of an email address. When you actually identify what the value of an email address is, suddenly now your list actually isn't just a dead list. There is money behind it. It's valuable. And there's customer lifetime value behind it as well. So try and do your utmost to revive them and understand your product, understand the buying cycles, understand that there are dips and troughs in that they might go to a competitor for a while, but then they might be back again. So don't write them off. Because this also comes down to basic things like customer expectation as well. So customer expectation is they've signed up to the list, they've been getting your emails from them. And I can give you a great example of this one. Dell, my friend, it's happened to me too, but this is a really good one. My friend, he signed up for Dell. And now he has his own agency. And every year he started, because he'd been buying Dell for years. This was a few years ago. He's been buying Dell for years. And so what would happen is he realized that around October, they were offering the best deals. So he would save all of the emails in a folder, wouldn't open them until it's like September time, and then he starts analyzing them, sees the features, sees the the specifications and everything like that, starts putting it all together, and then he'll place his enormous order. Right? They decided, because he hadn't opened an email in 6 months or something, that they took him off the list. Right? Now, where is that as far as loyalty goes? He's feeling a little bit kind of like, guys, don't you realize I'm a good client. I really am. I spend, a lot of money with you every year. So there's things like that as well. So just make sure you look at everything. And again, just because someone says do it, question whether it's right for you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Hello. Thank you for all the insight. Have you noticed rise in click rates because of spam bots in your emails or the clients that you work with?
Okay. A couple of clients, yes, but I would be saying a couple of clients per year for the last 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have they implemented anything to deal with that, or?
Yes, I'm assuming you've got an issue with that at the moment.
Oh no, it's just a generic thing that I used to work with clients, and then we had to get this.
Right. Yeah. So when you go through and have a look, there's little telltale signs that you can see if they haven't got that as an issue. And then it's really just a case of going in, and because these bots, the bots I'm talking about, are the ones that a recipient, a consumer, or a business person has got in place, and it's often a security measure that they want to, so your IT team have installed this. So what happens is that they'll go and click on every link before it comes to you, just to check that it's okay. But that can give you an inflated, click rate. And you're going, yeah, everything's great. But at the end of the day, what we're really looking at is, as long as that happens every time, then you're okay. So if you're sending to those company people, and then in one segment you're not, you're going to see a dip in click rate, and then you'd be concerned. But if you're sending it to them all the time, then you're just really benchmarking your results anyhow, aren't you? It's like Apple MVP, isn't it? We know that they're overinflating the open rates. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to throw away open rates? Well, no, we're not going to throw them away. They're still a good indication, and they're still good for benchmarking. The only thing you can't do with the open rates at the moment, because it only came in September last year, is, we will still be able to do a year-on-year analysis, right? We haven't been able to do year-on-year comparison because of the inflated, right? Yeah. Because it's just been slowly ramping up. And I still wouldn't start from September because it wasn't fully in place, but by January, they were pretty much fully in place. So January, I'd say you could start doing year-on-year comparisons with open rates.
Thank you.
Oh, we've got 1 minute 42 left. Oh, one more.
Thanks for the presentation. It was really interesting. So my question is, I have a couple of friends who are running their own e-commerce stores and making quite a bit of money out of email marketing. And when I asked them, what's the secret, what they said is that they have found out that it has to be like 1-to-7 ratio with emails. So, for example, there's one promotional email and 6 blog posts and some insights, which you can, some additional information which you can give to your potential customer. So, what's your insight on this? So, have you seen something similar, or?
Yes. So I'm the originator of the phrase helpful marketing. Okay, and helpful marketing is ideal for email marketing because we are that push channel. We have to be very, very careful about what it is that we're pushing. It's really easy to be very brand centric when we're pushing our emails because I want to tell them about this. We've got this sale, and we've got this offer, and then before you know it, you're just sending out. So we have to start being more customer centric. And when we start to think about what the customer wants, we're going to realize that actually they like to be helped. And so helpful marketing is very much using the touch points, right? Those touch points there and having those automations, but also, as you were saying, that your friends have found that those just nice little nudges. Does everyone know about the nudge effect as well? So that nudge effect kicks in. And because email is that push channel, it works really well for that. So don't be, I wouldn't say 1%, but I would definitely be saying you don't want to just be all 100% sale, buy, you know, that kind of thing. And also, I'm just going to throw in one last thing because time's up. Call to actions. Make sure that they are different, that they are relevant for the next action that's taken. So often in email marketing, what we're doing is we are priming them. We're suggesting, we're saying, hey, why not think of that? Look at this. Oh, you know, we're introducing. So having a big buy now call to action is probably not appropriate because they want to find out more about it. They need to look at the features, the specifications, the colors and everything like that. So just go and say, look at the new range or something. Have that softer call to action and test that one out as well. And I'm done.